All right, guys, it's that time of week again. It's time for the NHL Power Rankings. I think it's week 24. And we'll start with rank 31 this week because I think at this point it's safe to say the Canucks are locked in at 32. Find it they'd have to perform some sort of miracle to get off of that bottom. So we'll jump into 31, and Jade and I have the Chicago Blackhawks staying where they were last week.
I guess we could have just left them there as well.
At this point, look, they might just be 32 and 31 for the rest of the season. I think both of them would need some sort of miracle in the last 6 games to get out of these positions. But look, not a terrible week. They go 1-2-1, losing to the New Jersey Devils. They get an overtime loss to Winnipeg, lose to Edmonton 3-1, and a win against Seattle today. I mean, that's really all you want from them at this point, isn't it? Like, you just want them to get another good draft pick, but also to just show that they're gonna make some improvements. They're gonna play some good games here and there, but they're still obviously a little way away.
Yeah. Alrighty, on to 30. I have a new 30, Seattle,
Yeah, same here.
and it's crazy that they're vying for a playoff spot and they can be all the way down here. But
Yeah,
3 games this week, lose all 3 games in regulation. Started off with Edmonton, then Utah, then Chicago. Only 4 goals, conceded 13. They can't score. That's their biggest problem. I don't think they play bad. They just can't score.
hmm
And goaltending can be iffy, but really it's just down to just can't score. And if you can't score, you really can't win games. So
yeah.
that is their biggest problem, and that's why I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
No, exactly. League average for scoring is 3 goals, and they didn't score above 3 goals once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they,
can't expect to win when you're not doing that.
yeah, they're not even averaging 2 goals. So
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, let's go to 29. I have moving up one spot, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
yeah, I did the same.
Yeah, I'd love to say for Leafs fans that they're moving up because they're playing some good hockey, but it's more just Seattle's been really, really rubbish. Look, they get an overtime win against Anaheim. They lose to San Jose, and then they get an overtime loss against the LA Kings. They only put up 20 shots, but somehow put up 6 goals. Just shows you how bad LA Kings are. So yeah, look, to me, it wasn't a great week for them. They got heavily outshot. Um, but at this point, I think the aim for Toronto is just to get into that top 5 draft pick, so they don't have to give their draft pick to Boston.
Is it even possible anymore? I don't. I haven't. Well, let's have a quick look. Let's do it on the fly. They are
Uh,
25th.
all
They need to.
3, yeah, only three
It's
points.
sort of possible.
Yeah,
It's sort
just
of,
don't win another
and
game.
then you have to rely on the draft, like doing you
Yeah,
favors, like as
or
well.
draft lottery. Yeah,
The
yeah.
draft
But
lottery. That's what I mean. Sorry.
it's still possible. But God, you'd hate if they finish sixth, the bottom, and they give Boston the
I'd
sixth
laugh.
overall.
I'd laugh if they get down to 5th and then the draft lottery puts in the 6th or something. That would make me laugh. But
Oh,
anyway, on
Jesus.
to 28. I have Florida.
Yes, same here.
And yeah, interesting to have them here. Obviously, going to miss the playoffs. They're week two, so 4 games and regulation all the way throughout. New York Rangers lost. They beat Ottawa and Boston, good wins, and then they got destroyed by Pittsburgh, and that was 9-4. You can't really do too much in regards to that if you're Bobrovsky. There was a lot of tip-ins and stuff. But Bob's not doing anything against any of those goals really. So it was just really good clean shooting from Pittsburgh,
Mm.
and yeah, it got blown out that way. I still don't think they're like this bad, but they have just been getting these results.
Yeah, they
Um,
just haven't been able to put results on the board.
yeah, but I don't think they look as bad as what a 28 should be. If
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Well, I just want to point out they're above 500. Like, it's
If
crazy.
they're in
Like,
if they're in the West, they're probably a little bit higher. But yeah,
well, if they're in the West, they're only a couple of couple of games out of a playoff spot. So yeah, it's a crazy season, that's for sure. All right, 27 for me. I have oh, I forgot that these guys were here. This is just monumental, and I know I've probably gone harsh here, but Detroit Red Wings.
Whew, I didn't go that bad.
Oh,
By one.
I've gone that. Yeah, it didn't go that bad.
By one.
Just about. I'm starting to get real worried about this team. Um, yeah, they were comfortably in a playoff spot. I was like almost ready to just ring the bell and be like, finally, Detroit. Um, and now I'm seeing memes out there being like, congratulations, Detroit, for now being the longest playoff drought streak. Now that Buffalo has secured their playoff spot, but their week's not great either. They lose 5-1 to Pittsburgh Penguins. That's not what you want to be doing. They get a 4-2 win against Philly, which is solid against the wildcard team that they're competing against, and then a 4-1 loss against the Rangers. And I get it. The Rangers have sort of had a little bit of a resurgence here, but that's not a game you should be losing or can be losing.
No.
Like, like especially at this part of the season when you're fighting for a playoff spot, they're the games that you need to win to guarantee. Like, if you're playing against a team that's not in the playoffs, their bottom five, you need to be getting those wins, and they just haven't been doing it. And I'm concerned. Like, they're what? They're level on points with Ottawa, so all they need to do is win more, but more games than Ottawa, and they're in. But it's still one of those things that I look at it and go, the way you've been playing is not looking in your favor here. I'd be very surprised if they
Yeah.
make it at this point.
Yeah, the only unsung hero is that a couple of the teams in the playoff race had horrible weeks as well and have been
Yes,
playing a little bit poor as well. So that's the only unsung. But I think
correct.
Detroit are playing much worse than those ones at the
Hmm.
current time. 27 for me, Calgary.
Yeah, I agree. They're still 23 for me.
Oh, he kept it there.
I do,
Yeah.
I
So
do.
3 games this week. Lose the first two, win the last one. So lost 9-2 to Colorado, 6-3 to Vegas. It's kind of like a resurged Vegas as well, I would say. Um, and then a 5-3 win against Anaheim that has been a poor Anaheim of recent. They've been doing alright though in regards to like last 10, still 6-3-1, but I still think they've been poor for a
Mm,
while. And it didn't really take much for the lower teams below them that jumped them this week to play a little bit
mm,
better than them. Yeah, I just think the one that's really all it came down to because it was a hard schedule, like Colorado, Vegas, Anaheim, like all playoff teams in a sense,
mm,
and so that's difficult. They come out with two out of six, like not the worst. They haven't been playing the worst, but I just think the other teams below them finally turned it on a little bit more than them.
mm. Yeah, no, agree. All right, 26 for me. I have the New York Rangers,
Yeah, 25.
25. Yeah, look, yeah, bit of a resurgence here, man. A little too late, obviously. A little too late. I think it's a lot too late. The only thing I would be sitting on this and going is like Rangers. You had like you were second to bottom at one point. Stay there. You need that pick. Um, it's yeah. Look, it's good to see your team bounce back, and for Rangers fans, you'd be looking at this and going, "Hey, look, we're not complete dog shit. Maybe there is hope for us to bounce back next year." But I would say right now, the Rangers, if they could pick up the second overall, that would definitely help them with a bit in terms of their retool. Might save them from going into a full rebuild. But yeah, look, they have a good week, 3-1-0. They take 6 points from the game. They beat Florida 3-1, Devils 4-1. They lose 3-2 to Montreal, which everyone's losing to Montreal at this point, and they get a 4-1 win against Detroit. The only thing I've probably got against them is they put up a high of 24 shots for the week. 22, 23, 24, and 20. They put up the most shots in the game they lost. So I don't know how sustainable that is. to be scoring 3 or 4 goals a game with only 20 shots, but they're getting the job done at the moment.
Alrighty. On to my 24, San Jose.
Yeah, they're 25 for me.
And yeah, speaking of a little bit of a resurgence, San Jose started playing a little bit better this week. 4 games, win 3, lose 1. Beat St. Louis, Anaheim, Toronto, and lost to Nashville. Uh, Honestly, I feel like they're playing a little bit better in regards to their downfall, with that long slide that they've had. They are 4-5-1 in the last 10. They won 3 out of 4, so that shows how bad the last 10 has been. And I still think a lot relies on those young kids, like what is his name? Not Ekblad. My God, Ek something. Forgetting the other one, and Celebrini.
Hmm.
Like a lot of like creative offense seems to stem from them, and if it's not coming from them, it's not coming at all. But look, scored 3 goals, 4 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals. They score, and it's really
Hmm.
good. That's really positive. You know, we just talked about Seattle who can't score, so they got one
Yeah.
one problem solved in a sense. They just need to shore up everything else.
Yeah, no, 100%. They got a good young team. And Celebrini is a freak. All right, I think there was some stat out
I'm
there that if Celebrini doesn't score, they are a high chance of losing,
I'm gonna
or doesn't register a point.
quickly go to their team because it's really annoying me that I forgot the guy's name. Eklund. Freaking hell.
Eklund, William Eklund, yeah,
As soon as I went Ek, like I recently like watched Ekblad and all those other players, and I'm like I couldn't get that out of my head, and I was like, what's the
bloody
other
yeah.
one? All right, we're
He's
up.
also got a brother. All right, on to 24 for me. I have the LA Kings.
23.
Yeah, look, I just don't like this team at the moment. They're ordinary. And yeah, if it wasn't for the loser point, I think they wouldn't be anywhere near a playoff spot at the moment. 31 and 45. Um, and just anytime they seem to get some momentum, they seem to lose it. They go 2-1 this week, but again, it's all overtime. They get an overtime win against St. Louis 2-1. They get a shootout loss against Nashville 4-5, and then they get a 7-6 overtime win against Toronto. But they do concede 6 goals on 20 shots.
Yeah, it's what I wanted to
Yeah,
bring up. Kemper looked horrible.
yeah.
He just
Uh,
looks he
it-
looks extremely ordinary, and
Any
yeah,
anytime these guys seem to get some sort of momentum, it just all goes to the wayside. And the scary part is that if they can pull it together for 5 more games, they'll make the playoffs.
yeah. No, I think they've got goaltending problems. They've done some really stupid plays, like in the defensive half as well. Like Kopitar, like just being lax and then losing it as last man, and then having Kemper as a goaltender. Um,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know if they fix the goaltending, that it would fix all the problems, but I think it
I
would help.
think
I think it would help.
I think I think Kopitar's ready for the golf course. He's ready for retirement. He knows that even if they make the
It's
playoffs, they're
like I don't
not
want to make
going
playoffs,
anywhere.
guys. I already want to retire. Like, it's a score on him. No,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
On to my 22 Winnipeg.
yeah. Same here.
And yeah, this team's just been ticking up in the right direction, kind of what you'd been expecting at the start of the season. 5-3-2 in the last 10. Played 3 games this week. OT win against Chicago. Lose to Dallas 0-3, so they get blanked. And then they go and beat Columbus. So that Columbus, that's kind of, I don't know if you want to say falling apart right now, but
Mm.
they kept them to 16 shots. So that shows you how offensive Columbus has been recently. Look, two of the easier wins, if you consider Columbus an easier win these days. A hard game in Dallas and got blanked, but I don't think they were all out of it. It's positive, but
Mm.
from what we expected, it's all a bit lackluster, I guess. Technically, haven't been
Yeah.
eliminated from the playoffs, so
No, there's still a very good chance to make it,
it's
and
so unfair. I'm sorry, that was almost going to break me down. They've been down in this 20 below spot for like It feels like 2
Ah,
months or something,
I,
like or longer.
I know, and they were one of the worst teams in the league. They sit with 78 points on the season right now, and every other team with 78 points in the East is eliminated. And there's a good chance that the Winnipeg Jets could actually make the playoffs. Yeah, the season makes no sense. But one thing I will say is if the Jets do make it, Hellebuck just won gold. And who knows what that man could do once he got to the playoffs. So I, I'd be interested to see what happens with that. But all right, moving on to 21, I have the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, mine 19.
Yeah, you said before we jumped on to go live, Vegas are back. New coach, new Vegas. Look, the results speak well. They get three wins this week: 4-2 win against Vancouver, 6-3 win against Calgary, and a 5-1 win against Edmonton. The only thing I'll take away from it is they didn't play a single playoff team. Sorry, I mean not team that's in the
I was
playoffs.
just, I know you're
I
throwing
mean
shade, but
play playoff a playoff worthy team. Because not one of those teams deserve a playoff spot, even though one of them are in it. Um, yeah, look, I just need to see more. They obviously get the three wins. They do what they need to do. They give themselves some breathing space because I think it was getting a little bit tight there when they were creeping in on that wild card race. But yeah, I need to see this continue.
well, there was a lot of argy bargy in the Edmonton game. A lot of pushing and shoving, a little fisticuffs. So hopefully, they rock up against each other in the playoffs, and that type of situation continues.
Mhm.
That'd be cool to see. On
Mm.
to 21, Utah.
Uh, they are my 20.
And look, least amount of games this week played out of any other teams, so it's hard to move too greatly on that type of team.
Hmm.
And two of probably the easiest teams you could verse as well.
Hmm.
So they beat Seattle, they beat Vancouver. They did it quite substantially with 6 goals to 2 and 7 goals to 4. So they're scoring a lot of goals. Um, but yeah, it's Seattle who can't score. It's Vancouver who are Vancouver. So I can't really rate it too much. It's only 2 games to go off. They have been poor as of recently as well, so it was hard to go off of. But now their record is 6-4-0. They've won the last three because of these easy wins, and maybe it's something that strings everything back together. But
Yeah.
I still got to wait because yeah, it's kind of more like a buy round week for them.
Mm. Well, if they dropped even a point, it would have been a failure week,
Yeah,
and this just kind of helps them secure their playoff spot as well. So I was the same. I couldn't move on them, but it's ultimately it's a good week for them. All right, at 19, I have the St. Louis Blues.
yeah, about 20.
Yeah, look, these guys were red hot. And this week it's just faltered a little bit. 4-5 loss against San Jose, a 2-1 loss, overtime loss against the Kings, and 6-2 win against Anaheim. The annoying thing here and the frustration for me with how the St. Louis Blues have been playing is you can't drop that point against the Kings. You needed the 2 points against the Kings. The loss against San Jose I can cope with. Because San Jose, that young, vibrant team, they can just do that to you sometimes. But they needed that point. They needed to come out above 500, and they just didn't do it. It's not that hard of a week either. So, a bit disappointing. And it just makes their job of making the playoffs a whole lot harder now. They're 5 points back.
Yeah. On to 18. Highest have been in a while. New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, that's where I've got them too.
And look, they've probably turned it on. Like they're technically not eliminated, but they're basically eliminated from the playoffs. But they've turned it on a little bit too late. In regards to the last 2 games, looking really, really good. 4 games this week, 2-1-1. They beat Chicago 5-3. Lose to the Rangers 4-1. It's a resurged Rangers. They go in 7-3 win against Washington. Looking really, really strong. And then the game against Montreal also it goes to shootout and then just don't get the extra point. Um, yeah, last probably you can maybe even say the last 4 games. They've maybe besides the Rangers one, they've looked really really strong, and
Yeah.
it's kind of the Devils that you would expect at the start of the season. So yeah, probably just turned it on too little too late. We'll have to see, if this continues and maybe it changes their prospects on, if they're replacing Keith or what they're going to do in the off season,
Mm,
or if they're going to keep him and go back on it. So yeah, it's
mm.
interesting. I think these last, well, including these games, the last 6 games as well, will probably help decide how their off season goes.
But you said something before. You were missed before. I don't think you heard the news. New Jersey Devils are now identifying back as the Colorado Rockies,
Ah,
which puts them in the Western Conference. So they're actually
yes,
in the playoffs right now.
yes.
They're in the playoffs. It's crazy. I bet you they're regretting not being in the Western Conference anymore. Jesus. I know it's been 40 years, but you'd love to go.
Well, you look at all
You'd
the
love to go back
you
to
look at all
Colorado.
the Western teams that are they're above right now in our power rankings, and they're all going to fighting for playoffs at the moment.
Yep, it's crazy. Don't get me wrong, they don't deserve playoffs with how they've played this year, but yeah, just
No,
looking at it and going, if you were in the West, you would be in a playoff spot is just ludicrous. Um, all right, on to 17, and a team from the West in a playoff spot, the Anaheim Ducks.
yeah, fell a fair way.
Hmm. This has been their season though, and it's why I'm not fully convinced of this team either. Like you look at the week they had. They play Toronto, San Jose, St. Louis, and Calgary, and they walk away with 1 point.
Mm.
They 4-5 lose to Toronto in OT, 3-4 loss to San Jose, 6-2 to St. Louis, and 5-3 to Calgary. That's a horrible week when you could have pretty much like if you flip that and you take 6 out of 8 points from that week, which they should have at minimum, they're 6 points clear or 5 points clear of Edmonton on top in the Pacific. Like they've just almost handed Edmonton the top spot or brought Edmonton and Vegas back into the fold for that top spot in the Pacific, which they should have realistically sewn up this week. It's just really disappointing.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about another disappointing team as of recently. My starting in the top 16, Islanders.
Very disappointing.
Yeah, so 4 games this week, lose all 4 games, all in regulation, so not even a single point. Uh, was a bit of a tough draw, let's be honest though. Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Philly, and Carolina. They lose all those games. They got 8-3'd by Pittsburgh, and yeah, 2 of those games, Buffalo and Carolina, was only a goal. Only having 16 shots against Carolina. They only had like 6 shots or something going into the third or something at some point. Um, yeah, so they had 2 goals with those 6 shots as well. So that it looks better on the scoreboard than how it looked on ice. And yeah, look, goaltending, stood out obviously in that situation. But ultimately, yeah, it's just they haven't been stringing everything together. Um,
Mm.
when they have done this year though, where they go on this little streak and then they flip it and then win the other 4. So you're hoping for that for the Islanders. They did lose an important game against Philly, so we'll have to see if that comes back to bite them.
And the crazy thing is, losing to Pittsburgh, division rival that you were fighting for a spot with that you could be playing first round in the playoffs. Losing to Philly, they're after your division spot, number 3. And they probably take it if they win one of their 2 games in hand. Carolina, a team that you may have to come up against in the playoffs at some point. Like it's a week where you were like, okay, show us that you deserve to be in the playoffs, and they sort of fell apart. Which I expected them to do.
I will
I
say
didn't.
on that,
Yeah.
all those teams have turned it on currently. They're all.
Oh,
I feel like they're all playing the A game at the
th-
moment with Pittsburgh,
this is
Buffalo, Philly, and Carolina. So yeah,
yeah, but you can say you understand this from New York Islanders. I tell you right now, this even though they're 0-4 and 0 didn't get a point, much better than the Anaheim situation.
yeah,
Anaheim losing or going 0-3 and 1 against that opponent versus this opponent is horrible.
yeah.
Um, so I will give that to the Islanders. It was just more in the context of show us that you deserve to be in the playoffs. There was your sort of audition for it, and they sort of failed. But we'll see what they can do. They got 4 games. They need as many points as they can because they are at big risk of falling out. Let's talk about another disappointing team. It's just disappointment after disappointment at this point. Um, they were third or second or third in the Metro not that long ago, and now they're not even in a playoff spot. The Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yep.
I reckon I had them in my top 10 last week, and now they're struggling to hold on to a top 16.
Yeah,
Look, I
no,
don't.
they're falling apart. They're falling apart.
Yeah, it's hard. Like it's a hard season. It's a hard division. It's a hard conference. Every game is ridiculous. They didn't have an easy week at all. Like they go 0-3-1, they only get 1 point, but they played Boston, lose 3-4 in shootout. Then they play Carolina, lose 5-2 to Carolina, 5-1 to Carolina, and then 2-1 to Winnipeg. So it's not it's not an easy week, but the disappointing part is they had 10 shots against Carolina. They had 16 shots against Winnipeg. Like that's just not good enough.
Yeah, they were outshot in every game as well.
Outshot in every game, heavily outshot in every game,
Yeah,
basically. And yeah, like that's not what you want to see. I know Carolina's a great side, but that's a team that you're hoping to sort of come up against in the playoffs. And that's how you perform, you're kind of showing that, yeah, you might not be ready for a playoff berth.
yeah. All right, on to 14. Let's put some positivity in this area. So
Yeah.
Nashville.
Nash, well, yeah, okay. I was going to say, because my 14 is not positive. They're 13 for me.
All right, so yeah, Nashville 2-1 this week. Only the 3 games. Start off losing to Tampa by 1 goal in regulation. Go to shootout against LA, get the extra point, and then they beat San Jose 6-3. I think this team's looked really, really good. Um, I think this team looks like what they should look like as per their roster, how it looks on paper, and I think having a watch of them, a lot of their players, like the Stamkoses and whatnot, have looked like they're playing to that caliber. The Rileys, all those older players. It's looking good. 7-3 in the last 10. They still have a negative goal differential. That's just how like bad they were
Yeah.
at the start. But I do think they've turned it on. I don't know if it's going to sustain for the rest of the season slash playoffs if they go through. But ultimately, yeah, I'm more impressed by this team and on how they are playing against how they're playing against their opponents. And
Mm.
yeah, like it just seems all the older people are just locking in right now.
Yeah, yeah, and this is probably where they should be. Um, they're just lucky they're in a weaker division because it helped them be a weaker conference because it helped them sort of be able to bounce back from their poor start. All right, let's get back to some negativity because love that. Let's feed off of it. At 14, I have the Edmonton Oilers,
Ooh.
and it honestly pains me to have the Edmonton Oilers at 14 because, as I said before, when I was giving a bit of shade to the Oilers from Vegas, I don't think they're a playoff team. And look, I'll get a lot of hate for that because, Connor McDavid has made 2 Stanley Cup finals the last 2 years, blah, blah, blah. But they're not a team. Like, they're horrid. They've got two of the best players in the world and they're awful. And it's just I said to you before, I was like, I love Connor McDavid. I love watching McDavid. I love watching Draisaitl. I even like watching Evan Bouchard offensively, not defensively. That's just horrible
He's got a
unless you
great
want to
shot.
laugh.
He's got a great shot.
Yeah, he's such a talented offensive player.
Mm.
Defensively, he's
And
horrid.
and
He's
I'm a
disgusting.
big fan of Hyman and Nuge. So like, I feel
Nuge,
like they've got a line. They have a
I,
single line, and then
I
there's
love
no other
Nuge.
line.
But my God, that organization is just horrid at the moment, and they're not a team.
Mm.
Like I go down the list, and I'm like, there's so many more deserving teams out there than the Oilers. Um, and yeah, they're 7-3-0 in the last 10. They've their week was 2-1-0. They beat Seattle 3-0, Chicago 3-1, and then they lost against Vegas. So that's my prime example. You beat two terrible teams. They're literally 30 and 31 on our rankings. They're shocking. But then you get absolutely wiped by the only team in that thing that's actually competing against you for a playoff spot. And
I think their
um,
Oilers are a good study case on how important a good power play is, because getting an extra 10% or something free goals, because I'm pretty sure right now they have statistically the best power play in the league.
yeah,
Um,
they do every year.
yeah, like it's high, right? So like I think it's a show of if you have a good power play, generally you're going to do all right, because
Mm,
you're getting that extra 10% or whatever goals than the other teams just on that
yep.
alone. On to 12, Washington. Just
Yeah, that's where I've gone to.
scooting away. 3 games this week, 2 wins, 1 loss. Pretty tough week. So beat beat Philly 6-4, lose to New Jersey 7-3, and then they beat Buffalo 6-2. Um, just honestly, like you only had 18 shots. Philly only had 24 in that game, and it was a 10-goal game. So 10 goals and 42 shots. It's kind of that type of game.
They
Um,
pulled their goalies, right? That's
for the whole game. Yeah, look, they had 15 goals, so 5 goals on average.
mm,
Problem was they had 13 goals against.
yeah,
They're looking good, looking better. Like I said, tough week, all good opponents. Really important game against Philly, getting that extra 2 points above them, and you know you can maybe say that against New Jersey as well because they're technically not eliminated. But yeah, ultimately, yeah, in the detriment of them. Ultimately, I think they're doing all right. I
mm,
They're probably if this team makes the playoffs, they're probably one of the stronger ones that are currently playing right now, and that would probably play in the playoffs. That I would
mm.
say. Um, but they have been, 16 or lower for a while, so it's good to see them finally on a surge. A lot of these teams like know when to surge, like these
Yeah.
older teams like Washington Predators.
Sometimes you have to do that. You can't maintain
Nah,
the
not over
pace.
82. You just got to pace it,
No,
right?
exactly. All right, on to 11 for me. I have the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, we're going to talk
Just
about pacing. Sorry, just the Kachuk thing with Ulmark. Well, I'll just leave that hanging. Um,
yeah, just make of that what you will. Was he talking about Ulmark or was he talking about someone else? Either way, not a good look. Um, Nah, look, Ottawa Senators, they've had. Look, they don't shy away from a bit of controversy. Their whole season's controversial. But look, it's this team. They disappoint me. Just constantly, really. Like you think they're finally gonna just grip that final wild card spot, and then they're just like, yeah, why don't we just lose a few games? They lose 6-3 to Florida. They get a 4-1 win against Buffalo, which is phenomenal. Like you lose to Florida, who's struggling and out of contention, and then you go and beat Buffalo, who's one of the best teams going around at the moment. But then you lose 4-1 to Minnesota. It's it's just one of those things that I think this team will be really good come playoffs, and I think that whoever they come up against in the first round, they're going to give a little bit of a shock to, but they've got to make it. And I know they're in a spot
yeah.
at the moment.
No,
They're probably one.
their problem all season's been goaltending, right?
Yeah,
That's been the biggest issue is goaltending. Um,
yeah,
and the whole thing about Ulmark, with his mental health that he talked about, start of this year, whatever that was.
yeah.
How he's like has to take games off, whether it's injury or mental or whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know how that plays over a full Stanley Cup playoff run.
Mm,
If you're not having to swap your main goaltender, so yeah, I'm not convinced. I still think if they had the goaltending, they would probably want to be one of the strongest solidified Atlantic Division team. But
mm,
the goaltending needs to turn it on.
yeah,
Uh,
for
on
sure.
on to 11. Start of your top 10. I have Philly,
Yeah, they're 10 for me.
and yeah, look, this team 4 games, two wins, 2 losses. I think it's a OT win, not an OT loss. So they start off OT win against Dallas, lose to Washington and Detroit, and then they win against the Islanders. So all in all, 3 out of 4 of those games are pretty important. Um, with Washington, Detroit, and Islanders all in those wild card runs. So they lose 2 out of 3 of those, which is disappointing. Ultimately, I think this team looks good. They're kind of doing a Carolina in the sense that, and it's kind of what they've always been doing in a sense, but keeping their opponents to low shot counts.
Mhm.
18, 18, 19, and 22 is their shots against this
Yeah.
week. So it's really good. They're playing their structure, and it's just a well structured team. That's
Yeah.
it. It shows you that under well coaching, well structure, don't need the flashiest players in the league.
No, exactly. And look, at the moment they're looking like probably one of the strongest contenders for the playoffs. Like they're in the best form,
Mm.
and they're only they're equal with Ottawa. So all they have to do is keep doing what they're doing. They're going to make a playoff spot. So it'd be interesting to see how they finish it up. All right. On to 9 for me. I have the Pittsburgh Penguins.
My 8.
Yeah. Look. Turned it on. Did they ever turn it on this week? And I guess one of the best things is we basically get Crosby back in the playoffs because I can't see them getting kicked out at this point. They're
Not
six
not not
points
not the
clear.
form they just went into as well. Yeah.
No, and they're 6 points clear of a playoff spot. So it looks like we're getting Crosby back in the playoffs. But yeah, look, they go 3-1-0 on the week. They smash the Islanders 8-3. They smash Detroit 5-1. They lose 6-3 to Tampa Bay. And then they smash Florida 9-4. So it was 9-2 until Florida scored 2 late goals. So yeah, look, I mean, what can you say? They put up 25 goals in 4 games.
They look good, man.
They
They
look
look
they
good.
look really good. Yeah, the question is that they have their moments where they falter a little bit and they go on a bit of a slide. The question is going to be, can they hold that off at the right time, and can they sort of put this form into the playoffs?
Well,
But yeah, look,
Malkin just hit his 400th goal.
yeah,
We had Crosby, Ty. I
they
forget.
know.
I have like 20. We're really high up in the points.
Yeah,
Totals overall.
they
They're hitting some points.
yeah, but they know how to play in the playoffs as well. Like these are two
Well,
veterans.
everyone,
That's two
all those
veterans.
old people are healthy at the moment, which
Yeah,
is normally Malkin's out or Crosby or they have
exactly.
Letang, their Carlton, but everything's
And
ticking away.
and they're gonna be hungry because this could be the last time we see or any of them, right? Like this could be the last time we see Malcolm Letang, Eric Carlson,
Yeah.
Crosby,
If you don't feel
all that.
old, you should feel old now.
Yeah, I know. I'm about to spiral, Jaden. We got to get off the pace.
All right, on to 9. A team. Talk about spiraling. I have Dallas.
Ooh, you gone hard.
Yeah,
Seven,
I cracked the whip.
7.
Um, yeah, 1-2-1 this week. So 4 games. Probably 3, 4 difficult games, or good opponents anyway. So Philly, Boston, Winnipeg, and Colorado are the teams they versed. OT loss against Philly. The only win against Winnipeg. They got blanked by Colorado. They just no shots. Is my big issue. Like 18 against Philly, 16 against Boston, 21 their highest against Winnipeg, and even then they were outshot by 1. And then Colorado, where they were left to 17. So ultimately, like they're playing a shutdown game. Um, Maybe they're just coasting to the playoffs at this point and whatnot, but wasn't convinced on how the game style is playing. It's kind of I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the way the LA played against Oilers last playoffs, and it's like, oh, we'll just sit back now that we've got a lead or whatever, and it just all falls apart. So yeah, I don't like how they've been playing. Let's
Yeah.
just put it that way. And they're 3-5-2 or something like that in their last 10. as well. But the guaranteed playoffs, it
Yeah,
it
it's
it
hard to
it is what it
judge,
is.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's hard to judge because you're like they haven't been playing meaningful hockey for a while now, so it's hard to put how much of what you're seeing at the moment is just they mentally checked out. Um, Talking about another team that might be mentally checked out because these two are going to play each other in the playoffs, and they've known that for a while now. The Minnesota Wild.
Yep.
Yeah, look, I feel yeah, like Dallas have been disappointing. Minnesota have been up and down as well. They've been very similar. I think you've said it a lot this year. Like whenever you find Minnesota, you find Dallas. Um, and I feel like it's because they know they're not taking first spot off Colorado, and they know they're going to play each other because no one else is taking those second or third spot. And when you know who you're playing like 20, 30 games in advance, we saw it the other year with I think it was Toronto and Tampa. They knew they were playing each other like 25 games out, and you just watch them both do this. Just go, yeah, we play a couple of good games, and then we just fall, and then it's up, and then it's down, because they mentally check out. And they're just trying to keep themselves alert enough that they don't fall apart.
Mhm. In
Um,
in saying that, they won both of their only 2 games this week, but
they did, yeah, like they did, but they played Vancouver, who they should win, and then they get a good fall-on win against Ottawa. Minnesota, yeah, Minnesota had a good week, but I'm just saying, like these two teams, I understand when they have bad weeks because like it can't be easy to sit there knowing you're playing playoffs, knowing who you're playing playoffs, but knowing you still have to play 25 games until that playoff happens. So yeah, I feel for both of these guys.
all right. I don't feel for them. They made playoffs. What are you on about? All right, on to number 6, Boston.
Yeah, same here.
Just chilling where they are. Just going through the motions. Play 4 games. They went 2-2. Shootout win against Columbus. 6-3 win against Dallas, as we just mentioned. Then a 1-goal loss to Florida, and essentially like a 1-goal loss to Tampa as well. But it was 3-1. Ultimately, like really competitive. They're always really competitive. They have been like that for probably 3 or so months now. 6-3-1 in the last 10. Just still an extremely strong team. Um, I'm still very impressed on how they play the offense. They're not always having to rely on Pasta, even though it's good. Zach has been absolutely great for him. It looks like a horrible trade now that you look at the Hauler Zucker trade, because even
Yep.
Hauler's not even at the New Jersey, is at Nashville now. But he could make playoffs this year. So, but ultimately, the players have stepped out of Boston, and it's just ticking along. Swayman's been all right. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into number 5. Colorado Avalanche.
My 4.
Yeah, look, I didn't think I was gonna have Colorado Avalanche dropping a game, dropping a position, but here we are. Especially after they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a
Go on,
two.
go on. Make it make sense, mate. Make it make
Make
sense.
make sense. Well, Tampa Bay have been much better.
Mm.
Um, Look, they go 2-1-0. They obviously have this massive win 9-2 against Calgary. But a big reason for their drop is Tampa Bay who obviously went above them, have been unreal. And also Colorado lost to Vancouver. So they're lucky they didn't drop to 31st at this point. Um, but yeah, look, at the end of the day, conceding 8 goals to Vancouver is not a good look. But then they obviously bounce back with a 2-0 win against Dallas. So
I just
it's not all.
just gloss over that. A top 10 teams record play, like second best team of points or something in the play. I'll just
Whoa,
gloss
whoa,
over that
whoa,
win.
whoa, whoa,
Just
whoa,
you
whoa,
just
whoa.
focus on that
Didn't
Vancouver. It's all right. That one position means a lot to me.
didn't you just say that Dallas are absolutely dog shit? they're they're falling apart.
Oh, this
Um,
this 1 week, yeah. Yeah.
but yeah,
But
like it's
like that
at the
game
end of the
was
day.
also like a coaster game as well. Like 22
Yeah,
shots, 17 shots. They were, I
yeah.
think they're
And
about
that's
like,
what I mean. Like these teams, they know that they've got playoffs. They're
yeah.
trying to get to the playoffs unscathed. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
On to 5. A controversy about Buffalo.
Yeah, they're my 4. Had a bit of a slip, eh?
Yeah, just a bit of a slip. Um, 3 games all against those teams that are playing meaningful hockey. New York Islanders, Ottawa, Washington. So all really fighting for it for every scraping point. They beat Islanders, and then they lost to Ottawa and Washington. A lot of goals conceded. That was a big gripe of mine, and it's been my gripe with them for a while now. Is they'll put up a lot of goals, but concede a lot of goals. This week they didn't put up a lot of goals, and that was the problem. Ultimately, still look good. They're always really competitive. I just think the other teams have just jumped them just that little bit.
Yeah.
At least for this week, they're 5-3-2 in the last 10, and that kind of is what I feel like they've been playing at the moment. Probably a
Yeah.
6-6-4 is probably more realistic. So 5-3-2 makes sense. It's the same amount of points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see them cramp down on conceding so many goals. But if that means cramping their offense, then don't do it.
Yeah.
It's working, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's yeah. And we'll go through the top 3 here in a second, but when you see what the top 3 have done, you can understand how Buffalo fall down a little bit, and then obviously Colorado is just a beast, who obviously toppled Buffalo for you. But let's get on to number 3 anyway. I have the Tampa Bay Lightning.
yep.
Oh, you did? You did have the same top 2. I was interested to see if you do it. Um, we might have differing number ones, but we'll see. But yeah, look, Tampa Bay are just doing Tampa Bay things. They've been unreal all season. They go 3-1-0 this week, 3-2 win against Nashville. They lose 4-1 to Montreal, 6-3 win against Pittsburgh, and a 3-1 win against Boston. So pretty tough week in terms of opponents, and they walk away with 6 points. I believe they're 7-1-2 in their last 10. Uh, yeah, they're equal third in the league for points.
They just look
Yeah,
good. They just look
they
good.
do. They do.
Like Kucherov. I don't know. He should be getting Player of the Year. I think that dude. Every time he's near the puck or gets the puck, it just
The,
looks like McDavid in the sense like something's about to happen, like something crazy. So
the saddest part for me for Tampa is Tampa may go into the first round coming up against Boston,
mm,
who, if I run through some of the teams, like I look at them and go, damn, you're probably one of the stronger teams in like you're probably third or fourth strongest team in the Eastern Conference. And Tampa is going to be coming up against you because that's just how stupid
yeah,
it works, right?
no. We
If
need
we
a
did it a
division
one to
for
eight,
games, but playoffs should just be top 16. Let's just
well,
do
if
top 16.
even if it was just Eastern Conference 1 to 8, Boston and Tampa wouldn't be meeting in the first round. So yeah, I just something's got to change there, and I kind of feel sorry for Tampa. Tampa will probably beat Boston, but still, like it's not a team you really want to be coming up against
Nah,
in the first round.
Tampa look like they could win it. They look like their old selves in a sense sometimes. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of frightening. It's
Yeah.
always a Florida team up here.
Yeah,
Can't seem to.
you win 2 cups, and then your Florida mates win the next 2 cups, and then you're just going to take over and win the next cup.
Hmm.
Like, come on, man, can we get it out of Florida? Like,
With that said,
oh,
Florida hadn't had one. Well, like Florida Panthers hadn't had one for a long time.
mhm.
If ever. So number 2, this is the moment of truth. I have Montreal.
And I have them at number 2 also.
I didn't do it.
I pussied out. I didn't do
Pussy. All right.
it.
So yeah. So Montreal 4 games. They win all 4 games. Carolina, Tampa, Rangers, and then New Jersey. Carolina wasn't convincing. Neither was the Tampa in a sense, even though scoreline convincing. But 2
Mhm.
great wins, obviously, considering where we have them in the power rankings. And New Jersey, kind of like a new resurged New Jersey. All these games are really hard. honestly,
Mm,
because Rangers are resurged, New Jersey's resurged, and then you got Carolina, Tampa. But they've been they've been going through it. They're getting the wins, even maybe when they probably shouldn't. 9-1 in the last 10, won the last 8. It's they're just scoring goals. It's
mhm,
really the key there. Doubled their opponent's goals this week. They just got outshot heavily. That was my concern. But that's when you have elite goal scoring like Caulfield and stuff. As we were saying off air, I was surprised he didn't go to number 2 overall in that draft. When I remember watching a lot of Jack Hughes highlights, I was seeing Caulfield all the time. I'm like, that dude should be going number 2. But because he's so tiny, people don't look at players on their merits in that sense.
mm.
And yeah, everything just seemed to be ticking really, really well for Montreal. So hopefully it doesn't explode in the playoffs, but it looks really good.
Yeah, look, second year in a row they're going to be in the playoffs. It's great to see. They're back. I don't think we're going to be seeing them missing playoffs anytime soon, outside of like a freak year where they just lose half their roster. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I,
phenomenal.
I think they've replaced Toronto.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, 100% easily. All right, let's go on to number one and the Carolina Hurricanes. Um, Now, a lot of people might argue Montreal beat the Carolina Hurricanes 2 times in the last 2 weeks. Shouldn't that put Montreal top? And look, I know I at least considered it, but it is really hard to go away from Carolina, especially when in those games they heavily outshot and probably outplayed Montreal, even though they got the loss. But yeah, look, what can you say about Carolina? Like, I feel like at the end of the day, I just want to see them actually make a Stanley Cup final. I think all Hurricanes fans would probably agree with me there. But look, they're doing what they do home and away season, week in, week out. They just they win games. They seem to always be above 500% every week. They get the 3-1-0 this week with the only loss against Montreal to start that week, but then 5-2 against Columbus, 5-1 against Columbus, and 4-3 against the Islanders. Only thing you could probably say is a little bit of a weaker finish with Columbus and New York Islanders. I know
they're,
that's
they're
strange
playing
to
they're
say.
playing spoiler though. They're playing spoiler.
Yeah, they
Um,
did big time for those
but
two
they
teams.
heavily outplayed all their opponents. That's the crazy thing.
Well,
Even
you look at
even
the shots against 35 shots to 18 against Montreal, 33-25 against Columbus, 21-10 against Columbus, and 40-16. Like, they control the game.
yeah, you
Um,
play the people are just playing Carolina's game.
mm,
And it's hard for me. Like I rarely see someone take Carolina out of their game and play their game. It's actually quite rare. And yeah, it's look, they played spoiler against Columbus and New York Islanders this week. They like Dallas and Minnesota are just coasting, but they're doing the opposite. They're not coasting. They're going to keep playing their system and just keep that momentum into the playoffs. That's the way they're doing it, and it looks like it's going to work. But yeah, it's basically Stanley Cup final or bust, right? So
mhm.
it's a lot of pressure, but they keep getting Eastern Conference, so it's only one extra step, right? But it is probably the hardest year to do it with how the East has been. So
Yep.
it's it's great to be good, but sometimes it's like you've got to pick the right time to be good. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna see. It's gonna be sad when Carolina and Tampa or one of the other ones knock each other out because I feel like that's a Stanley Cup final in itself.
You could have a final with those two. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the Stanley Cup final is going to be the Stanley Cup final. I think it's going to be the Eastern Conference final is the Stanley Cup.
Well, I
Um,
feel like the only way it'll be the Stanley Cup final if Colorado
yeah,
probably make it,
yeah,
or a Dallas maybe. Um, but yeah, like
yeah.
I feel like outside of that,
Yeah, like Minnesota, like only if they turned it on. But I
yeah,
wouldn't even consider if they probably turned it on because they're versing the West, and it's like, well, is it just the West?
yeah. The one
It's
thing I
gonna be.
don't want to see, yeah, the one thing I don't want to see is Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota beat the living crap out of each other, and then Colorado, Dallas, or Minnesota make it to the Western Conference final, and they come up against Vegas or Oilers, and they just have nothing left.
Yeah.
because like yeah, it just I can see it happening, and it would be horror show because Vegas and Oilers are probably going to have a free walk um to one of them are going to get almost a free walk to the Western Conference Final.
Yeah. All right, let us know what you think of our power rankings. Let us know in the comments what your power rankings were for the week. And yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. But I guess until next time, we'll catch you guys.
Bye guys.